The UTSA Roadrunners are coming to DKR to try to pull off the upset. How has UTSA risen to the top of their conference in such a short amount of time? What makes their offense so effective? Which players perform at a high level? And most importantly, what can Texas do to avoid the trap game and send them back to San Antonio with a loss? But first, make sure to head over to Inside Texas so you can stay up to date on all the Texas football news. There's practice notes, injury updates, and pregame analysis to keep you in the know on your favorite football team. Make sure to subscribe to InsideTexas.com today. Link in the description. Traylor has built a great culture at UTSA, and they would love nothing more than to upset a Texas team fresh off a great Alabama performance. So what does Texas need to look out for? Without further ado, let's get into it. First, head coach Jeff Traylor knows how to build a winning football culture. He's highly respected in the Texas coaching community due to his performance at the high school level. His first head coaching job was at Gilmer, a tiny East Texas town with a population of around 5,000 people. In his stint at Gilmer High School, he won 87% of his games. During that time, he had 5 state championship appearances, won 3 state titles, and won his district 12 times. In 2015, Gilmer renamed the high school stadium to Jeff Traylor Stadium. And then he went to the college ranks. His first year, he was a special teams tight end coach at Texas under Charlie Strong, then the assistant head coach at SMU in Arkansas, before landing the head coaching gig at UTSA in 2020. In his second year, he won Conference USA going 12-2. Traylor is an excellent coach that has respect throughout the state, with the nation soon to follow. This is a good football team that plays incredibly hard and believes in each other. They do not roll over. And in Traylor's third year of building that culture, he's returning 87% of his offense, for 12th best in the nation. It all starts with their senior quarterback and Frank Harris. He's starting his third year with 400 passing attempts in 2021. If added to the Big 12, he's first in touchdowns at 27, second in yards at 3,170, and fourth in completion percentage at 66%. And this is a passing offense through and through. He's excellent on the deep ball with an adjusted completion percentage of 51.4%, but he does favor one side of the field due to being left-handed. Harris has a tendency to pass to the left, intermediate, and long. He's twice as likely to throw left on shot plays. Harris does struggle in the intermediate range, ranking 11 of 13 if added to the Big 12, completing just 53%. UTSA does like to throw short about 40% of the time, and they consider it an extension of their run game. And he's accurate there too, completing at 87%. But his passing struggles overall when pressured. Kept clean, he completes 73%. When pressured, he only completes about 45%, for third to last if added to the Big 12. Since his passing struggles under duress, he's more likely to use another major aspect of his game, his legs. Even when his passing accuracy suffers, he is still effective at eluding the sack with a low 13% pressure to sack rate. His ability to escape resulted in 31 scrambles last year. He can gash you with long runs when the DBs are way too far back in coverage. He had 109 rushes last year for 556 yards and 6 touchdowns. But all that play extension and running has exposed his biggest flaw. He can't hold on to the ball. He fumbled an insane 13 times last year, so if a defender gets near him, you need to try to pry that ball loose. His mental eval is rock solid though. In week 1, he drove UTSA over 50 yards in under 21 seconds to kick the game-tying field goal versus Houston. They lost a heartbreaker in triple overtime. In week 2, they were down 14-28 to Army, before coming back to send it into overtime and win the game. Frank Harris does not quit and remains composed regardless of the odds. You do not want to let the UTSA offense hang around in games. But you can't have all that passing success without effective targets, and the true strength of the UTSA offense is their awesome group of starting receivers. UTSA has a formidable trio of receivers that are productive with tons of playing experience. The UTSA offense does an incredible job of spreading the ball around to all 3 receivers, with each one of them having 750 yards individually last season. Their number one is field receiver Zachary Franklin, and he would rank 5th when added to the Big 12, landing 118 targets last season for 80 catches, 1,022 yards, and 12 touchdowns. He's a lean 6'1", 185-pound strider that can attack all parts of the field. You can hit him deep, behind the line on screens, or for those much-needed quick slants to secure big third downs. Harris and Franklin's chemistry is excellent, and they will lean on him on those crucial drives. And if for whatever reason Franklin is covered, they can turn to the big 6'3", 210-pound boundary receiver in De'Corian Clark. If added to the Big 12, he would rank 6th. And Clark put up 759 yards and 7 touchdowns on 77 targets last year. He is most likely to be targeted deep due to that large frame, and he gets 29% of UTSA's deep throws. He's sure-handed, catching 54% of his deep balls for 5 touchdowns and 406 yards in that plus 20-yard range. And you especially want to watch for him on the goal line because they will throw it up to him one-on-one, and that's how they beat Army on Saturday. Look for Ryan Watts and De'Corian Clark to go head-to-head on game day. And then you have their quick slot receiver in Joshua Cephas with 72 catches on 90 targets for a great 80% catch rate. He put up 799 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. You can hit him running crossers over the middle or quick stick routes to keep the chains moving. He would rank 21st if added to the Big 12. They can also get a large 6'4", 285-pound tight end in Oscar Cardenas involved in short yardage situations for a few attempts a game. But it's more to just catch you sleeping when you are focused on the 3 other receiving threats. If they move him out wide, he's usually going to block for a screen. So it's truly an impressive group of experienced receivers with their own defined skill sets that will put stress on any secondary. And they spread the ball out so evenly between the 3, you never know who's going to be making the grab. The UTSA offensive line last year was a good unit, ranking 39th in average line yards in the run game and ranking 13th in the nation in sack rate, only allowing sacks on 2.8% of passing plays. But they lost their 2 top-graded linemen and their starting left and right tackle from last year. In the pass game, new left tackle sophomore Vinley Tatafu is ranked 22nd out of 25 pass-blocking tackles. Their senior right tackle Ernesto Almaraz is 23rd out of 25, but he suffered an injury in the Army game. If he doesn't return, second-string sophomore right tackle Frankie Martinez is the worst in the Big 12 of pass-blocking tackles at number 25. Between the 3, they have given up 4 sacks and 20 pressures in just 2 games. At guard, there are far better pass blockers. Senior left guard Terrell Haynes has been an excellent pass blocker, ranking 2nd if added to the Big 12, only allowing 1 pressure. On the other side, senior right guard Kevin Davis is ranked 9th, giving up just 1 pressure and 1 quarterback hit. Senior center Ahafitu Maka is ranked 8th of 11 pass-blocking centers, allowing 4 quarterback hurries and 4 pressures in just 2 games. In the run game, if you add all offensive line positions together and run blocking, left tackle Tatafu is ranked 16th, center Maka is ranked 31st, second-string right tackle Martinez is 42nd, first string right tackle Almaraz is 52nd, left guard Haynes is 54th, and right guard Kevin Davis is 57th out of 60 total players. Despite a really poor run blocking group individually, they have performed well as a unit, averaging 3.36 line yards per run play for 4th if added to the Big 12. But they have also yet to face a Power 5 defensive line, and you'll soon see a bulk of their rushing yards weren't designed. The running back room is struggling to replace their star running back in Sincere McCormick, who headed off to the NFL. Their running backs haven't been performing well, with starter Brendan Brady averaging a poor 3.6 yards per attempt and ranked 9th if added to the Big 12, with Arkansas transfer Traylon Smith averaging 3.9 yards per attempt, ranking 12th of 16. And that's because a bulk of their rushing success has actually come from quarterback Frank Harris, as he leads the team in rushing yards at 130, averaging 11.8 yards per attempt. The keys for the Texas defense in the running game: the defensive line and linebackers should prove successful against the UTSA O-line and running backs. They just have to do an effective job of containing Harris and getting him on the ground. In the pass game, the Texas defensive line needs to continue to play with that effort they did in the previous 2 weeks. The edges have a great advantage against a very poor pass blocking tackle room, though the interior defensive line will have to face better pass blockers at guard. Continue causing disruption and putting pressure on Frank Harris because it will limit his passing ability. But they need to remain assignment sound because if Harris gets loose, he can pick up big yards with his legs if the linebackers can't track him down quickly. The Texas secondary did an incredible job of limiting Alabama's wide receivers last week, giving them very little separation and frustrating the Bama passing attack. The Alabama receiver with the highest yards on their team only had 39, but Alabama's receivers are young and still trying to gel. This UTSA group is experienced and have been playing together for years. It'll be a fun matchup across the board there. This game will be about the Texas defense because, as you'll soon see later in the video, the Texas offense is marred by potential injury. If they play how they played against Alabama, then I have all the faith in the world in them, but we have to keep the score low. But before we hit the defense, you need to check out Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a US-based daily fantasy sports app where you can make college football player projections all season long. How does it work? You select 2 to 5 players and choose more or less on their projections. It could be passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, and more. And if those players score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. Just hop on the Prize Picks app or website, go to the college football tab, and check out the player projections. It's a smooth process where you can make your entries in 60 seconds or less with fast withdrawals. It's that easy. As a first-time depositor, use promo code TexasHomer, and you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That's double your money up to $100 for your first time. So sign up for Prize Picks, use promo code TexasHomer at sign up, and add even more excitement to your game day. Link in the description. Now, let's take a look at the UTSA defense. The UTSA defense was the weakest aspect of the team in 2021, ranking 73rd overall out of 130 teams. UTSA did have a really good run-stopping unit at 33rd, decent pass rushing at 48th, but struggled badly in coverage, ranking 105th out of 130 FBS schools. But it is a new year. Before we dive in, remember this is a 2-game sample size, so expect variation as more data is added to the sample. But for now, let's start with the run defense first. On the defensive interior, second string nose Lamonte McDougal is the best run stopper, ranked 5th. Second string defensive end Joe Evans is 7th. First string nose Brandon Brown is 14th, and first string end Brandon Matterson is 27th. It's yet to be seen if the reason for the second string guys performing better in the run is because they play less snaps, so therefore they're fresher when they come in. Both Houston and Army went to overtime, so they did play against offensive starters the entire game. For edge run stoppers, second string end Trumaine Bell is 4th. Second string will linebacker Jamori Robinson is 14th. And starting end Cyrus Simon is 16th, and starting will Trey Moore is 29th. At off-ball linebacker, starting Mike Trevor Harmonson is 17th. Second string Sam linebacker Danye Taylor is 10th, and starting Jack Jamal Ligon is 16th. It's a good unit from defensive interior all the way up to off-ball linebacker, and they're ranked as the 21st run-stopping defense in the nation currently, similar to their success last year on defense. But let's see how the pass rush and the secondary are performing early on. In the pass rush, they have regressed from 2021, ranking as the 107th unit currently. They have done decently at getting sacks with 5, but since it's early, 5 sacks doesn't mean much, because 27 teams are tied for 33rd with 5, and Texas is one of those teams as well. Starting nose Brandon Brown is 9th in pass rush, and second string nose Lamonte McDougal and starting defensive end Brandon Matterson round out the top 20 at 19th and 20th of 33 total players. So they have one top 10 pass rusher with 2 below average on the interior. But they struggle the most at those edge spots, the guys you need to be the best pass rushers on the team. Their top-ranked pass rushing edge is second string Trumaine Bell, and he's ranked 28th out of 36 guys. First string will Trey Moore is 31st, second string will Jamori Robinson is 34th, and starting end Cyrus Simon is 36 out of 36 players when added to the Big 12. As Texas fans know all too well from last year, a lack of pass rush puts a lot of strain on your coverage defenders, and the UTSA secondary have given up an average of 255 yards per game, ranking 92nd in the country. If we add corners and safeties together, they do have a good starting corner in Nick Troy Fortune, who is the 10th coverage defender if added to the Big 12. But there's a big drop-off to the second corner in Corey Mayfield Jr. at 29th. Safety Rashad Wisdom is 47th, and the other safety Clifford Chapman is 48th out of 67 total coverage defenders. The issue with the pass defense is they give up way too many explosive plays for 10th out of 11 teams if added to the Big 12. They do a decent job limiting offenses passing from play to play, only allowing 38% of passes to be successful. But when one does get through, it goes for big yards. If they can limit those coverage busts or getting beat deep, then the coverage will improve tremendously. The team they played last week, Army, which is a run-centric offense, put up 304 passing yards on UTSA. They would run, and then sneak one over the top since UTSA brought so many defenders into the box to try to stifle their option running attack. And Texas could learn from this strategy. The keys for the Texas offense are becoming more complicated. Sarkisian in his Monday press conference said that Quinn Ewers, Hudson Card, Bijan Robinson, and Deshaun Jameson are all day-to-day. Sark did say all of the injuries aren't structural or requiring surgery with no broken bones or damaged ligaments, so they can be monitored each and every morning. And while I hope that's the case, I do believe it also benefits us by not letting opponents know who to prepare for. So I assume that Quinn Ewers will be out that 4 to 6 weeks mark with the SC joint issue per early reports. Hudson Card is likely questionable this week as well from suffering a leg injury versus Alabama. That means Texas could be down to our third string quarterback in Charles Wright, a 3-star recruit, redshirt freshman who has 6 total snaps in his career, and all of them were handoffs in the blowout versus Texas Tech last year. And before the 900 comments asking what about Malik Murphy, Sarkisian in his press conference said that he is not healthy. So as of writing this video, Charles Wright is likely your starter going into UTSA unless Card is somehow able to return. So you assume Texas is going to have to lean heavy on the run game versus UTSA. But UTSA is a good run defense, and they just spent all week prepping for Army's well-known rushing attack, even putting into place a new strategy to specifically shut down the run by playing 5 down linemen and bringing safety into the box. On top of that, Bijan could potentially be out with a shoulder injury. We just don't know for sure. So this will be a true test for the Texas Longhorn offense's heart. We saw something similar when we beat Kansas State last year with both QBs down, utilizing the Wildcat package with Roschon Johnson as the quarterback. I suspect Texas will pass short, getting the ball into the hands of our quicker players so they can use their athleticism to break long runs after the catch with the occasional open deep shot when we do get behind the defense. It's yet to be seen if Charles Wright can execute that throw at the college level. But he wasn't some chump in high school either. He had good accuracy, mobility, and functional arm strength playing against Texas 6A competition. So if all those injuries turn out to be the worst case scenario, it's time to see another incredibly creative Sarkisian game plan, with heavy running hoping to wear down a good UTSA run defense over time. The potential issue is Texas hasn't performed great in run blocking, granted one of the games factoring in is against Alabama. Our highest rated run blocker is right tackle Christian Jones at 27th. Center Jake Majors is 39th. Right guard Cole Hudson is 49th. Left tackle Kelvin Banks is 50th, and left guard Hayden Connor is 60th out of 60 players. Our rushing stats haven't been great due to pulling starters in the third quarter versus ULM, only having 134 total rushing yards that game, and then playing against a great run defense in Alabama that held us to 79 total rushing yards for an awful 2.4 yards per carry. If we had either two quarterbacks in Quinn or Card, this would be a far easier game, since we could take advantage of the weak UTSA secondary with our good receiving core and improved pass blocking. But it looks like our advantage could be neutralized with a third-string quarterback, and we will likely have to play at the strength of the UTSA defense, which is the run, with the weakness of our offense currently, which is run blocking. UTSA and Jeff Traylor do not fear Power 5 opponents and would love nothing more than to add a Texas upset to their resume. So this is where we see if the Texas offense can land the knockout with an arm tied behind our back. And that's why I think the Texas defense will be the biggest factor in the game. And they proved what they are capable of, holding Alabama to just 20 points. So this should be a fun game. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook 'em.